Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today we're going to do something a little bit different, but it's kind of based around my last video where I sort of discussed what I feel that Harlequins kind of need to be able to stay current in the meta. But this time what I'm doing is, what would I do if Games Workshop came to me and asked me to write the Psychic Awakening for the Harlequins faction? Now, obviously, I love Harlequins, so I'd be a little bit biased. But what I have tried to do is look at the other Psychic Awakening books, see what's kind of been done before, see what I think we would need, think about like something that would make us a little bit more unique in that respect, and just gone through kind of the codex again, some of the lore, and sort of looked at things and gone, oh, yeah, maybe that would be actually an interesting thing for us. Obviously, I would want us to be competitive, but I am trying to be balanced. So I don't think anything that I've put in here is like crazy. And where it is a little bit stronger, I've kind of costed it as a result of that. So the first thing that we keep on hearing as a rumor that I know that a lot of you out there really, really want is is it Salandri Vale Walker special character model. Now, I like looking at the forums, I like looking at some of the story and the lore, and so I kind of created a little bit of a profile for what I think she would have. Now, I agree with a couple of other people that I don't think there is only one Vale Walker. I think it is a role that Shadow Seers play within the Veiled Path Mask. And as a result, I've kind of reflected that in the profile. So I think, Vale Walker would be basically a Shadow Seer, but with a special rule called Smoke and Mirrors, giving her a natural -1 to hit. And I think that she would have a Warlord trait, and I've given the Warlord trait to her, the show must go on. Basically, a little bit like I am Alfarius, except that what would happen is that if she's slain, the next Shadow Seer in the army basically takes her profile. So she doesn't die unless every Shadow Seer in the army is killed. I think that would be really fun, like a really different kind of idea. I think she should get +1 to cast and deny, and that she should be able to deny 2 and cast 2. Then I've sort of given her a relic as well, which is like a 12-inch deny deep strike bubble and plus D3 CP. Plus D3 CP. I've called that the Mask of Misdirection. I thought she would have a relic mask, and it would do some crazy shenanigans to kind of like spook or like misdirect, or whatever else, like create like weird imagery for the enemy so that they wouldn't be able to come close, but also making her a natural leader to the Veiled Path. So some more CP. Okay, now moving on to like the traits that I think we should get, and I think this is kind of the most important one. GW don't seem to always get it right. Looking at the new Gene Stealer cults, for example, I'm sorry guys, it's pretty piss poor from what I can see. I don't think it's fair to them. Let's put it that way. And I think there would be a lot of traits that I would love us to have. Maybe some of this is I mean, all of it is pure wish listing, but maybe some of this is a bit too optimistic. You can tell me if you think it would be too strong, but this is kind of what I've gone for. So my first trait would be Vol's Forge, where you can re-roll like a random statistic for 1 model per unit. So if you've got random shots, you can re-roll one of those for the unit. If you've got random damage, you can re-roll one of those for the unit. So you've got your haywire cannons, like 1 bike in the unit can re-roll the number of shots, or 1 kiss could re-roll the D3 on the damage, or whatever else. I think it would be quite nice for us. And it would also encourage things like Void Weavers, and maybe even a brigade detachment, like an MSU style army basically. Then I've got Kernos Hunt, and that would be +1 to advances, charges, fallback, and heroic intervention. I think it would be nice and fluffy for us. Then I've got the Wrath of Kagorak, so this would be 6s, cause 2 hits instead of 1 in the fight phase. Would be very, very strong, so maybe that should just be, the only one that you can take, but there are a couple of others here that I think might also be the case. Then I'd say, the next one as well would be Aisha's Blessing, for basically a 6+ feels no pain. I think, that would help us with a bit of survivability, and it wouldn't be too broken. Next one is another one that maybe is a little bit strong, but it's Heroes of Old, where I've said like it's +1 invulnerable save to character models up to a maximum of 3+. I don't think that would be too broken. You know, it's strong, but maybe for each of these you could only choose one, maybe, or maybe for some of them you could choose, like, you could branch it into two and like have like half of them where you can take two of them, and then half of them where you could take one. Don't know. You know, tell me what you think. Then I've got the Court of the Sun King, which would be +1 to hit in the combat phase. I've got the Serpent's Bite, which would be that CC weapons, so quite close combat weapons, would get -1 AP on wounds of a 6. But I don't think that and the Wrath of Kagorok could be mixed together, because then you'd have, like, you know, 6s cause 2 hits plus -1 AP, and, you know, not so cool. And then I've got Eldeneth's Fury, which would be to increase the range of assault and pistol weapons by 3 inches, which I think, you know, would help us. So all of those are kind of traits that I've chosen. In some ways, maybe each of these could only be chosen once instead of twice, but then at the same time, in the current meta, I honestly think that we need our rules to be better because we are an elite army. And we've discussed that a little bit before, but I do genuinely think that we could get more buffs to our individual units and still not be broken, because it's not like you're giving these to like 30... But, you know, a mob of 30 infantry, or, I mean, look at the possessed bomb, you've got like 20 possessed coming in with all of these buffs. You know, I don't think that it would be too broken, given that the maximum number of troops that we can have is 12. But, you know, let me know what you think. Then the next one would be the stratagems. So I've got a couple of ideas for some stratagems that I think would be quite fun. The first one is Fear the Reaper. So you spend 1 CP, but you can spend up to 3 CP. And basically what it is that you pick a Death Jester, and then you can obviously spend another CP and another CP for 2 more Death Jesters, and you can re-roll 1s to wound in the shooting phase for units within 6 inches of a DJ. Thought it'd be quite fun. Gives something slightly different, like the re-roll 1s to hit that, you know, almost every other army has, but we don't have. So I just kind of feel like it would give us some flavor, be something a bit different, and it would make a lot more use of our DJs. Then I've got the Spiral of Mirth and Madness, which would be 1 CP, and you can basically pick up a unit and put it in reserve. And then, you know, you can, at the beginning of your battle round, so, you know, you pick up a unit, put it back into reserve, then you can deep strike it the next turn. Then I've got the Twisted Path, which is 2 CP, and I think this would be quite fun. It would be at the start of the turn, or of your turn, you can choose a unit in close combat, and it can shoot and then fall back. So kind of almost the opposite of Kagorok's Jest, is that, like, instead of, oh, you fall back, I can shoot you, it'd be like, I shoot you, and then I fall back. I think it'd be quite fun, and would make, I mean, it would be devastating with things like fusion, but yeah, we're still, as I say, we're still not the most, like, broken army by any stretch of the imagination, so I think it would be fine. And for 2 CP it would still be quite CP intensive, so you could probably only do it like once, maybe twice in a game. Then I've got the Encore of Laments, 2 CP, which would be reroll all failed hits in 1 phase. So yeah, I mean, you could potentially mix that with the Twisted Path, but then you're spending 4 CP to reroll all the hits and to shoot and then to fall back, and, you know, then it gets expensive. Then I've got Psycho Crystalline Enhancement, which I don't know if it would be 1 CP or 2 CP worth. You know, you guys can let me know what you think, but I would say that it would be quite a fun one, which is increase the Neuro Disruptor's profile to Pistol D3 for 1 unit for the phase. Just to give us some incentive to take Neuro Disruptors, because currently we don't have many. And the last one would be Prismatic Matrix, which would be 1 CP and +1 to wound for prismatic cannons within 6 inches of each other. Basically the Fire Prism strat, but for Void Weavers. I know loads of people want that. Loads of people have said, like, oh, we really, really need that. And I'm like, I agree. I think we need something that makes Void Weavers, again, just have a little bit more punch. They're meant to be our gunboats, and currently they don't do anything really for us in terms of that. There's not much they do on top of, like, the standard Transport Star Weaver. They're useful, but they're not what they are supposed to be. Then, as a relic, just like I mentioned in my last video, I basically took, or I created, the Spear of Kurnos, which would replace a Power Sword, because it makes more sense for a spear. It'll be +2 strength on the charge, damage flat 2, and if an enemy is slain, then I think the unit should not be able to fall back that turn. Or maybe it could be a roll-off, but I feel like taking up a relic slot, plus being on a character, plus you have to kill something, that's enough kind of random element, just to make it, you know, a little bit more difficult. And then obviously it gets more and more difficult as you go on, because then you're only at, you know, strength 3, and I think it would be a balanced relic. And the last thing that I wanted to put in there is a mechanic, as in an extra mechanic, a little bit like the experimental weapons for Tau, or for the mutations for Tyranids, and it's basically to give a unit the player of light, dark, or twilight mechanic. I think we shouldn't be able to do this for everything, so I've said, like, okay, you could spend 1 CP on 1 unit, 2 CP on 2 units, and then that should be it. Maybe you think would be better, you know, to replace relics with it, I don't know. But what I've gone with is for a unit with player of light, or players of light, they should be able to reroll charges. Players of dark, I thought that they could have this kind of thing. I keep seeing it in Psychic Awakening books at the moment. They're like on a 5+ for every model in a unit that ends their distance within 1 or 3 inches or something after a charge. Then on a 5+, then they deal a mortal wound to the enemy unit. I think that would be quite fun. And then the last one for players of Twilight, I think that we should be able to give a unit -1 to hit if they are more than 12 inches away. That's pretty much it. Just pretty much me wish listing, dreaming, coming up with some ideas, thinking about what we could maybe use, what we would need if we were going to, you know, go up a little bit in the meta. I don't think any of this is broken. I don't think any of it is like crazy, particularly for our small units, as I say. You can disagree with me if you think that these are too overpowered, let me know. If you think they're maybe underpowered, let me know. I don't think they are either, personally. But maybe some of the CPs should go up or down. Maybe it should be limited in some ways. Let me know what you think, or let me know what you would do with the Psychic Awakening book if you could write it. This has been Kit, this has been Ghost the Webway. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a bit of wish listing, a little bit of fun, but I thought I'd put it out there and see what you guys think. Okay, thanks a lot. See you next time. Bye.